Hello there friends, this is Harvinder Singh and in today's video we are going to code this simple two-player tic-tac-toe game and we are going to code it from scratch with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I have tried to code this in the simplest way possible so that it is very beginner friendly and everyone can understand the logic what's going on here. It will also help in developing the critical thinking that is needed while designing this kind of games. And yeah, enough of talking, let's now see how this game looks like. Okay, so player X won. Now let's do something different this time. Let's make this game a tie and yeah, here it's a tie. So this is how the game looks like, this is how the game works, and yeah, now without wasting any of your time, let's get straight into our VS Code and start coding. Okay, so here we are in our VS Code and here we have this empty folder tic-tac-toe and nothing else in our file. In our folder. So let's start by making some files, some essential files that we need. That is going to be index.html. The other one is going to be style.css for our styling purpose, and the one is going to be app.js for our JavaScript. Now we have these three files, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now let's start working on our HTML first. Let's bring up our boilerplate here quick. So we have a boilerplate here. Now let's change the title to Tic Tac and Toe. Tic Tac Toe, that's our game. And now coming to our body section, we are going to create a container div here. This is going to be our parent div. Now inside this container div we will have a game div. And inside this game div we are going to have a real game, and our real game will consist of 9 blocks. Okay, in tic-tac-toe there are 9 blocks for us to mark cross or 0. So let's make 9 divs. We can give them a class name of block or cell. Let's give them a cell. Yeah, we need 9 of them. Okay, so now let's enter and we have this 9 div. I think this is it for our HTML part. And wait a minute, why we have two index.html file here? Okay, this is okay, that was some sort of glitch, I guess. Now we have only one HTML file that we created here. I don't know where the other one came from. Okay, so let's link our CSS file and JavaScript file. So link style.css and let's link our app.js file as well. So script.source app.js. Let's save this, and now that's the basic structure of our website that our HTML will contain. Okay, so now we are done with our HTML section, at least for now, and now we are going to move to our style.css part. So in our style section, first thing first, we are going to grab our global elements and we are going to give margin 0 and we are going to give it a padding of 0 as well, and we can give box sizing, border box, and now we can come to our container section, container, and we are going to give it a width of 100% and a height of 100 VH, and you can give it a color, background color of I have a color I have copied in my clipboard, so this is the color that we are going to use, and let's save this and let's have a look. First let's open it with live server, and let's open with live server. So now let's wait until our project opens. Still loading. Okay, so the background color that we gave, it's here, so it means that everything is working. And I like to split my screen like this when I work on CSS so that I can see what I am doing, because sometimes CSS can be really irritating and I just don't want to get irritated on camera. So yeah, this is a good way to work with CSS. Okay, now we have done with our container, and then I guess we have this cells. We have this 9 cell, right? So let's give them a height of 80 pixels, and let's give them a width of 80 pixels as well. 80 pixels. Save this. Okay, there's nothing to show, so we can give them a border 2 pixels, solid white. Let's save this. And okay, here we have these 9 cells. I want to place these cells nicely in the middle, so what can we do is, coming back to our container, we are going to have display flex, justify content center, and align items center. Now let's save this. They are at center, but I want them to display grid. Okay, so the parent element of this cell was game, right? There it was. See, this was game, and inside the game there was cell. Okay, let me place this next to this. Okay, right. So now let's grab this game class and give it a display of we can give it a display of grid, and grid template column. I'm going to give it auto. Let's save this. Okay, great, we have this. So I guess we have our basic structure of a game. So our grid and all our boxes are ready for our game. Now let's give some dummy content inside these cells. We are going to have either a X or a 0. So let's give it so that we can style them. Okay, so see, you can see that it's not looking good at all. It's like really odd. So let's style this. So first, font size, let's give it a font size of 50 pixels. We can give it a little, we can make them a little bigger as well. Font size 60 pixels. Okay, I want these fonts to be in the center, so font size can be of okay, what I'm doing, man, I want these text to be center, so we can do it with text align center, and yeah, it does the work. Okay, so I think the color should be white, and the color of this border should be black. Is this cells border going to be black? Okay, what happened? Okay, so okay, fine. So now moving forward, we have our styling in place. Now we can move forward to our logic part, that is our JavaScript part, and this is going to be the most interesting part, right? So let's get into our JavaScript section. Okay, before getting into our JavaScript section, let's remove this dummy content that we have given here. So yeah, so that we have a clean slate to start with. Okay, so here we are in our JavaScript section, and this is going to be the most interesting section and my personal favorite, because here we are going to make things work. Okay, here we have this static website, but we can make this static website work as we want, right? So, but first of all, let's have a very brief idea of what we are going to do. Firstly, what we have to do is, whenever we are going to click on any of these cells, we want to mark these cells either with X or 0 based on which player turn it is. Okay, so first we going to mark the cell with X or 0. Okay, now what is the second thing that we want to do? Now after when we are marking, we want to check the pattern for win. Okay, we want to see that if someone is winning, if any of those player is winning. So check the pattern for win. Okay, now check the pattern for win. Now the third thing that we want to do is we want to check for tie. So these are the three main things that we want to see. We want to write code for these three things to make our game really work, right? So let's get started with the first one. Mark the cells with X or 0. So how we are going to mark the cells? Whenever we are going to click on these cells, we are going to mark it. Okay, so let's first select all these cells. Const cells is equals to, okay, let's first make it full screen because now we are done with our CSS part. So let's make it full screen. Okay, const cells equals to document dot query selected all, and we are going to select all the div with class name of cell. And so now let's make a main function here. So function start game. Okay, start game, and inside this function we are going to add our event listener for these cells, right? So cells dot for each cell, we want to add a event listener, and we want to listen for click, and when we click we want to execute game. Okay, we want to execute this execute game function. Okay, now let's define this function execute game function. Execute game, and we are going to first check whether it is working or not. Console.log and hi. Let's open this up and let's open the inspect tool. Let's open our console section. Okay, let's click it. Okay, it's not working. We have done something wrong, I guess. Oh yeah, we have defined this function but we have never called this function start game. So let's call this function start game, and now hopefully it should work. Okay, it's loading now. Yeah, so we can see hi. Okay, but see, it's working, but what I want is I just want to click this cell 1. Okay, I don't want a single cell to be clicked twice, right? See, if I am clicking here, the count of hi is increasing, right? So that I don't want. I want to click this one cell once. So for that we have a very simple thing. We can do this cells for each listen, add event listener, click, and here we can add this one line of code that is going to be once, and I want it to be true. Okay, let's save this, and now I hope this should work. Yeah, you can see we can't click the same cell twice, right? So this is working. Great. Okay, so now what we want that whenever we are going to click on these boxes, we want this to be marked X or 0, right? So let's get to this. So whenever I'm going to click this box, I'm going to do this dot inner text is going to be X. Okay, let's save this. Okay, so it's working now, but we also want 0, right? So how we are going to do that? That is quite easy to do. We are going to initialize a variable here that is going to be let player 1 is equals to true. Okay, so when player 1 is going to be true, we are going to mark it with X, and if it is not true, then we are going to mark it with 0 or O, and after every marking we are going to update our player 1 to what it was not before. Okay, player 1 is equals to not equals to player 1, that is going to be false. If it will be true, then it will become false. If it will be false, then it will become true. Now let's save this and let's have a look. Okay, beautiful. We can see that it's working. Right, it's working nicely. So now we are done with this section, not section, I mean we are done with this part, and now we are going to do this part, that is check the pattern for the win. We have to write the winning logic for the game Tic Tac Toe, and believe me, the winning logic for this game is really simple. We just need a bunch of and if operators, and that's it. Now let's see what we need to write the winning logic. We need the value. See, like if I'm clicking here x and again x and here again x, now at this point of time I want my game to tell me that player 1 had won the game, because what we are seeing here, we are keeping an eye on the value that is inside these boxes, and if these three values matches, we are going to win the game. Now the question is how we are going to get these values. Let me show you. This is going to be pretty simple. Let me show you. You remember that we have written this line, we have selected all the cells here, const cells document dot query selector all cells, right? So we already have all these cells. Let me show you cells, right? So you can see we have 9 cells, 9 node list, 9 cell we have, and let's go for the first one. So first one dot inner text, and when we write inner text we have x, right? So this is how we are going to get the inner text of these cells. Okay, so let's come to our coding part. Okay, so now let's first write all the value. See, we can directly use this cells 0 dot inner text as well, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a value 1 so that it will be easy for all of us. Let value of 1, this is going to be this, so that for writing our if else statement it will be easy for us. Okay, so let's do this 9 times. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, right? And after 0 we want 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, I have this one extra because 0 to 8 is already 9, right? Now let's change this value 2, value 3, value 4, value 5, value 6, value 7, value 8, value 9. Okay, so now we have all the 9 value. Now we have to write the if else statement, right? So if value of 1 is not equals to empty string, right? This is going to be our first condition. The first condition should be that, see, the first condition for our win should be that the value should not be empty, right? This should consist some value. So the value of 1 should not be empty, and value of 1 should be equals to value of 2, and the value of 2 should be equals to value of 3. Okay, let me summarize it for you. The value of 1 should not be empty, right? The value of 1 should be equals to value of 2, and the value of 2 should be equals to value of 3. Now if this happens, we want to simply write here console.log win. Okay, let's see. Okay, and see, and we have this win here. Now let's do it for 0, because what's inside there doesn't matter. So let's start with 0. This time we are going to make our 0 win. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, we have again this win. So the value doesn't matter here, whether it is X or 0, the code is working great. So this is what we have done for our first row. Okay, that is going to be 1, 2 and 3. Now we have to do the same thing for all the other, right? So let's do that. Let's first give it nice spacing so that we don't get confused, and we're going to have this inside our bracket so that we don't get confused. Okay, I just got confused. Yeah, now it's okay. And yeah, so this was all about our first one, right? First row. Now I need 9 such conditions. 9 such condition: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, 8 conditions, not 9. We need 8 such conditions. So let's copy that for 7 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So now I'm doing this so that you don't get confused. I'm writing this cells number, okay, so that you don't get confused. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Save this and let's have a look. So we have this type of number, and okay, we have this something on line number 39. We have the problem, and 39. Okay, that the problem is because after OR statement we are not given anything, right? Yeah, now see, our first line was done. Now let's come to our second part. Value of, okay, the second line will consist of 4, 5 and 6, right? 4, 5, 6 should be equal. So value of 4 should not be empty, and value of 4 should be equals to value of 5, and value of 5 should be equals to value of 6, right? Now let's come to the third row. 7, 8, 9. Great. 7, 8, 9. So the 7 should not be empty. 7 should be equals to 8, 8, and 8 should be equals to 9. Okay, so we have done for these 3 sides. Now if we want to check, we can check. Let's suppose we should check this third row, okay, and we are going to check it with our 0, and let's see. Yeah, we have this win, right? So for this row also the code is working. Now let's move forward and let's see what are other numbers that now we need. 1, 4 and 7. Now we need for this thing 1, 4 and 7, right? So the third one was over, fourth one. 1 should not be empty. 1 should be equal to 4, and the value of 4 should be equal to value of 7. Or now let's come to the second one. 2, 5 and 8, right? So this is going to be 2 should not be empty, and 2 should be equals to 5, and 5 should be equals to 8 for our win. Right, now 2, 5, 8 is done. Now 3, 6, 9. Let's go for 3, 6, 9. 3 should not be empty. 3 should be equals to 6, and 6 must be equal to 9 in order to win the game. Okay, now this 3 row. Now 1, 5, 9. Now we are going to do for 1, 5, 9. So the 1 should not be empty. 1 should equals to 5, and 5 should equals to 9. And the last statement is going to be 3, 5 and 7, right? So the third one should not be empty. The third one should be equals to fifth one, and the fifth one should be equals to wait, I forgot, the fifth one should be equals to seventh. Okay, the seventh one. Now let's save this and let's see if our code is working or not, and let's remove this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 because that was just for your visual understanding. So let's remove this. Now don't get mad for this magic, I just did undo. Okay, now let's see. For center row, okay, we have this win, but why the win is coming for fifth time? We have to check, there is something wrong, I guess, because it's printing for the 5 time, because it's printing 5 times. Okay, we have done this mistake here. We have given the opposite sign of this, right? So not equals to sign is going to be this one. I guess now it will come only once. So let's see. Yeah, let's check the diagonal part first. Yeah, there is a win. So with this, our winning logic, we have a winning logic in our place. You can recheck it as many times you want to, but we have done this. So you see, this was the logic. This simple thing was the logic. Now we are done with this also. Now the third thing is check for the tie. See if now this is even simpler than this thing, if it's a tie or not, because if we have won the game, we would get out of this what we will get out of this function execute game. So we can do this return, right, and let's see, the game will only be a tie when all the 9 moves have been done, right? And after those 9 moves, no result have came out, so that in that case the game will be called as a tie. So let's give it a variable here. Let count equals to 0, and whenever this game is being executed, we are going to add this count plus plus. Okay, this execute game function, whenever this will execute, we'll do it count plus plus, and in last, if count is equals to 9, then we are going to console.log tie. Let's save this. Let's have a look. Let's make this game tie. Okay. Okay, this should come there. This should come here. Okay, how much thinking we have? It's a tie. You can see it's a tie, right? Because no one is winning and we have the tie here. So that's it. We have these 3 things done, right? We have these 3. The third one also done. See, that was not something very tough. It is simple. Now we have the logic in place. Now we just have to make things fancy, right? We have written this, all the code for and all the logic for our game to be functional, and it is working. But the only thing is that we have to open up console.log to see what it's showing us, that whether it is a win or it is a tie, right? So let's take this one step more further and make it playable for users, and make it and let's give it a good user interface. At least we can try that, right? So let's start by making a end screen that will show us the result. So where is our index.html, and inside this container let's make another div that is going to be game over. We can name it game over, and inside this game over div, when our game will be over, then this div should pop up, and this div should have a result class. So let's give it a class of result, and this will show who had won the game. And we would also like to have a reset button or play again button, we can call that. And I'm going to give it a class of we can give it a class name of let's add reset. And let's move forward. We can write here play again, right? Okay, so this is all about the container div. Now let's have a look. Okay, so this is what it's showing. Now let's give some styling to our game over div, and let's get here game over, bro. And here where I'm going to give it a width of 60%, and we can give it a height of 80vh, and I can give it a color of, let's give it a background of RGBA 255 255 255, and let's give it 0.7 transparency. Let's save this and let's have a look again. Okay, here it is, and I want to give it a position of fixed. So position is going to be fixed. So yeah, see, it's little transparent. We can see that we can do 0.6. You can reduce the transparency to 0.6 or maybe 0.5 if you want. So now here we have this in center, and let's move forward. We can give it a border radius of let's give it a border radius of 12 pixels. Let's see how does it looks. Yeah, it's okay. We can give it till 14 pixels. Yeah, it's okay, it's fine. And now let's give it a backdrop filter, blur. I want to blur it 0.1 rem. Let's see. Yeah, so it's little blurred, so I'm liking this effect. Okay, so let's move forward, and I want to place this button. And okay, let me show you. There is a result div also inside this. Okay, so this result div will show like player won. Okay, so we will have like this. This will be the content inside this game over div. Okay, so let's place all these things in center. So for that we know display flex, justify content center, align item center, and let's save this and let's have a look here. Yeah, what we can do here is flex direction column. Okay, we have this thing. Now we can do is let's style that button. That button class was reset button, and let's give it a, let's remove border. Let's remove the ugly border of this button to border none, and let's see this. Okay, let's increase the font size to 18 pixels maybe, and yeah, fine. Okay, first let's give it a padding of 12 pixels and 14 pixels, and we can give it a border radius of 6 pixels maybe, and yeah, we can give it a font weight of 200. Okay, now let's add a background color of something like sky blue. Let's see how does it this looks. This looks very bad, and something of more dark. Yeah, okay, we can go with that. I'm not okay. And I'm saying that we can reduce the padding also a little bit. So let's reduce the padding to 10 and 12 instead of 12 and 14. So yeah, now it's looking much better. And let's this result, and we can give it a padding of 50 pixels and font size of 50 pixels as well. So let's see. Yeah, player 1. Now which player 1, that we will add there dynamically. Okay, now the reset button, we can also this is a button, so we can add cursor pointer to it, and we're going to give it a hover effect as well. Reset hover, and I'm just going to increase the font size because I'm not going to select a new color for it. So font size is going to be 20 pixels, and I think this will work. Okay, it's very bad. We should need a transition, right? Transition all 0.5 second is. Save this and let's see. 0.5 seconds is too much, I guess. Yeah, it is. 0.2 seconds is okay. Yeah, this is this is good. So this is all about designing of our page, our game over page, right? And what else can we add here? And now I'm going to remove this player 1 thing because we are going to add that result dynamically. Okay, so let's get there, index.html, and let's remove this player 1 thing. Right, and now let's come back to our JavaScript section, because for styling this complex type of games and things, we need a JavaScript for styling as well. We need some help of JavaScript as well. So let's const result is going to be document.query selector, and I'm going to select this result div, and we can also give it a const game over, and let's grab this query selector game over div as well. Game over. Let's save this. That's the name only, na? Game over, yeah. So we have selected these two things. Now let's go to this style section. Now by default I don't want this screen to pop up. Okay, so I want to, by default, want to give this a display of none. Game over, we can give the display to none. So now we don't have that screen. We can play our game whatever we want, and we don't have that. We have that display none. Now when here we have, where we have the winning logic here, and if we have won the game, what we want is, we want to make that page display, make that, not page, actually make that div display. So we have already selected this div name game over. So game over dot style dot, okay, what was that, style dot display, and this is going to be flex. Okay, let's save this, and we need to do few more things. Okay, first let's see if this is working, right? If we are winning, then our display should come. Okay, our display is coming. Now I want to see who is winning here. Okay, so see, inside this function execute game, whenever we are whenever this function is fired, the player 1 status is changed from what it was not previous, right? So with the help of this thing, what we can write here is, we can write result dot inner text is equals to is player, if is player is true, not is player, sorry, it was player 1, I think. Yeah, it was player 1. So if player 1 is true, so if player 1 is true, we are going to give it the inner text of player O1. Okay, and if it is not, then we are going to have player X1. Okay, let's save this and let's have a look. Let's make our X win and player X1. Whoa, great. Let's refresh it again and let's make this time our O win and player O1. Okay, see here we are writing this player 1. If player 1 is available, if player 1 is true, then player O1, because here the status of player 1 is already being changed, right? So if you don't want to get confused, then you can also do this. We can remove it from here, and at the end of this function we can do this. And if player 1 is true, then player 1 won, and player 1 is always going to be X, so player X1, and here player O1 if player 1 is not true. So let's save this and let's see if this logic is also working. Okay, let's make this win diagonally. Okay, great. So it's working. Now what is going to be our next step? See, our next step is going to be this. When we have won this, now what next we want? We want to play again. We want to touch this button, play again, and we want our game to get to a point where everything is reset, right? We want to reset everything when we click on that button. So let's get to our JavaScript section, and we have not selected that button. So const reset button is equals to document dot query selector, and the button name is going to be reset button. Reset, that was a class of that button. So now whenever we are going to click on this button, right, so here we are going to add event listener. So whenever we are going to click on this button, reset button dot add event listener, and we are going to listen it for click and reset game. Okay, let's make this function reset game, and function reset game Okay, so what are the things that you want to reset in our game? When we click play again, first of all we want to remove this pop-up a game over, or the result window, right, the result div. So first of all let's do that. That was game over dot display dot style dot display, and we are going to give it a property of none. Okay, let's save this and let's see if this is working. Yeah, now what we want is we want to reset all this value to empty string. Okay, so what we are going to do here is cells dot for each cell dot inner text is equals to be empty string. So okay, let's see if it's working. Let's make O1 this time, player O1, play again, and okay, so it's working. But now we are not able to click these because we have this where we have added this event listener on these cells. We have given once equals to true, so we can only click on these cells once. Okay, so that's why we can't click that. So what we are going to do is, this was the function start game. we want to start game again. So after we have done this, we want to start game again. We want to run this function again, and we want to also reset the value of player 1 to true, and we want to reset the value of count to 0. Okay, and let's save this and let's have a look. Okay, player X won. Play again. This time let's player O won. Okay, so we have done this. Okay, so now let's do the same thing when our game will be tie. So here we have only simply shown console.log tie. We are going to do the same thing. We are going to update the result, and we are going to paste the result here first. So result is going to be, it's a tie, it's our tie, and we would like to give the game over div the display of flex, and let's remove this console.log and just return from just get out of this function whenever the game is tied. And we can do the same thing for here as well. We just want to come out of the function whenever we have won the game or the game is tied. Okay, so now let's check if it's working for tie or not, and yeah, it's a tie. So everything is working nicely, and everything is, I guess, done. Okay, one more thing we can add is that we can add instruction here, like whose turn it is, right? For that, let's get to our index.html, and inside this container div we can add h1 dot instructor, and we can give it, like, whenever the game starts, it's always going to be player X turn. So let's save this and let's have a look. Okay, but we have to style a little bit. Where's the container? Yeah, here was the container. It's going to be flex direction column. Let's save this. Okay, now the class name of this is instructor. So I want to give it a position of absolute. Okay, absolute position of absolute, and I want to give it a top of 40 pixels maybe. Save this and let's have a look. It's not working. Instructor. Okay, I have written instructor, not instructor. Instructor. Let's save this instructor, and yeah, it is good. I want to increase the font size to, let's do it 60 pixels, and yeah, that's good. And you can even change the color to white. Let's save this and let's have a look. Okay, player X turn, and I want to update it whenever we are clicking on cells. So for that, you have to come here and in our JavaScript section, and we have to give it a const instructor document dot query selector, and we're going to select the class name instructor. So now we want to update it dynamically. Okay, so how we are going to do that? It's very simple. See, we have this player 1 is equals to true, right? So we are going to use this, and with the help of this we are going to do that. If player 1 is true, then we are going to set the instructor.inner text to player x turn, else instructor dot inner text is going to be player o turn. Okay, let's save this. Let's have a look. Now it's O turn, now again it's X turn, now again it's O turn, now again it's X turn. Play again, and let's see if this O should win this time. Player O won. Okay, player O turn. This is wrong, because whenever our game start, it should always show player X turn. So whenever we are doing that reset button, there is some glitch here. So how we can fix? Okay, so that problem can be easily fixed. When we reset game, we want to reset our instructor dot inner text to player X turn. Okay, we can do that, and I think this will do the work. Let's see. Okay, we have to make this O1, player O1, and let's play again, and we have this player X turn when the game is reset. Okay, so that's it for this game, I guess. This is what our final version of the game looks like. Okay, no, wait, I can add one more thing. I would like to add one more thing. I would like to add a cursor pointer to this cell. Where is this cell? Yeah, here. I'd like to add a cursor pointer, and this will give us this thing that yes, we can click on these boxes. So yeah, I can do this, and okay, this thing is also not looking very good. So what I want is, when this game over div appear, I want this instruction to just vanish. So that also we can do very easily here, because there are only two places where this style game over div appears. So what we can do is, we can instructor dot inner text is going to be null here, I mean nothing here, and here also we can just do the same thing when it's a tie. So Ctrl plus C and Ctrl plus V. Let's save this, and let's see if it's working. Yeah, so no instruction when we have won the game. So that's it for today's video. I guess you learned something new. I hope this was a useful video, and yeah, that's it. See you soon.